How's it going, everybody? Eugene here again from Eugene Reviews, and happy Labor Day weekend. Number 1. This will be the first Marvel film with a predominantly Asian-affiliated cast and crew. Like Black Panther before it, this MCU film will be another ceiling-breaking moment as it will feature a cast and crew predominantly of color. As we know, a majority of its cast, which include Simu Liu, Michelle Yeoh, Awkwafina, and Tony Leung, are of Asian descent. But a little less known fact, director Destin Daniel Cretton is of Japanese descent, writer David Callahan is of Chinese descent, and even editor Harry Yoon is of Korean descent. Speaking of Simu Liu, number 2, actor Simu Liu and his brief history with Marvel. Okay, you know who this guy is. This is Simu Liu, and this is the guy who's playing the titular MCU hero, Shang-Chi. If you don't know who he is, I urge you to watch a show on Netflix called Kim's Convenience. It's a small little Canadian-based show, but it's pretty funny and I highly recommend it. Another thing to know about him, especially his history with Marvel, is his particular approach to Asian representation in Marvel films. In 2014, over 7 years ago, Simu Liu, who had been virtually unknown at the time, tweeted out the following: "Hey Marvel, great job with Captain America and Thor. Now, how about an Asian American hero?" Pretty casual tweet, right? Well, just 4 years later after that, production for Shang-Chi was greenlit. Then Simu Liu would make another tweet after that stating the following: "Okay Marvel, are we gonna talk or what? Hashtag Shang-Chi." And then 1 year later after that, at San Diego's Comic-Con, Marvel Studios announced to the world that Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings would be released under MCU's Phase 4, and none other than the instigating Simu Liu would play the titular role. Number 3. A couple familiar names and faces from previous MCU films will appear. While the film doesn't have a supporting role that fills the shoes of a Tony Stark or a Steve Rogers or a Bruce Banner or a Thor, it does have some familiar names and faces worth noting. In one instance is this still of 2 familiar MCU faces. This is Emil Blonsky, aka Abomination, and we haven't seen Abomination since 2008's The Incredible Hulk. Next to him is Wong, the sorcerer from the Doctor Strange film, and we haven't seen him since Avengers Endgame. Another noteworthy name that will sound familiar to MCU fans is Tony Leung's character Wenwu, which is revealed to be the Mandarin. Now, the Mandarin should ring a bell to you and revert you back to the 2013 film Iron Man 3, and you're probably wondering why we have another one. Well, this film is supposed to explain the gist of it, but the main point to recognize in this is that this Mandarin is the real Mandarin. Tony Leung's Wenwu is defined as the real Mandarin, not Aldrich Killian played by Guy Pearce or Trevor Slattery played by Sir Ben Kingsley. Oh yeah, Sir Ben Kingsley is also rumored to appear in this film. Number 3. Shang-Chi is a member of the Avengers and several Marvel publications. Debuting in 1973, Shang-Chi was mostly published with narratives that just involved himself. But in more modern and recent publications, there are some storylines in which Shang-Chi had been recruited by the Avengers. In particular, Marvel Now, which was published in 2012. Shang-Chi also has affiliations with other Marvel groups such as Marvel Knights, Secret Avengers, and the X-Men. So safe to say you're going to see a lot more of Shang-Chi, especially if they're going to make another Avengers film, which looks like that's probable. And number 5, Shang-Chi will be released only in theaters. Earlier this year, Marvel Studios released another MCU film that had been long awaited in Black Widow. With the pandemic casting a shadow over this film and its release that spanned over a year, it was adamantly decided that this film would not only be released in theaters, but would also be released on the same day on Disney Plus's Premier Access, which account holders would have to pay an extra $30 to stream for at least 3 months. While the idea seems viable in hindsight, it does reflect poorly in its box office performance. Currently worldwide, Black Widow's grossing over $370 million, but that's against their $200 million budget. Now, pandemic days, that's pretty good numbers, but let's be honest, this is Disney. They go above and beyond with their numbers. And also to note, there are other films that made more money and they didn't even release on video-on-demand services, such as Fast 9. So with the other films outgrossing Black Widow worldwide, as well as an ongoing lawsuit between Disney and Black Widow producer and actor Scarlett Johansson, it really does force Disney's hand to exclusively release their brand new MCU film Shang-Chi in theaters, which ultimately they decided after the performance from Black Widow. So Shang-Chi will be released in theaters for 45 days, then will be on the Disney Plus streaming service. This is in the hopes that the exclusivity will drive its audience back into the theaters in the midst of a COVID-19 outbreak that's still heavily affecting many people worldwide. So far, the positive word of mouth that's been coming from reviews from critics as well as early screenings are making rounds, and that should be able to make a good push for Shang-Chi in the box office. But time will tell. And those are your 5 things to know before you watch Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I hope you guys got your tickets to watch these films. It's not like you got any other choice. I mean, it's only in theaters. But I mean, the positive word of mouth, hopefully everything that's come out so far in regards to the early reviews have gotten people amped up, such as myself, to watch this. And I cannot wait to experience this in the biggest screen possible. I can't wait. With this being a predominantly Asian-led film, me being Asian, I mean, this is going to be something to behold, and I cannot wait. And I hope you guys are eager just as much as I am to watch this film. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is Eugene signing off. Happy Labor Day weekend, and I'll see you guys again for another one of these 5 things videos for the next big movie release. Thank you.